Right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to episode 9.5 of the Football Uncensored podcast. As discussed last week, 9.5 because two of the three musketeers are still abroad, sunning themselves. So we've only got one musketeer tonight. I've just made that one up, but let's go with it. D'Artagnan, I think, John. We call it tonight. So yeah, welcome.
Bit of panache.
Bit of panache, yes. So yeah, how's things? How's your week been?
Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah. It was a good week last week. Very good positive feedback on the little bit we did on social media. Obviously, just to underpin what you said, I'm on Twitter at the Real Sitton, and we got the podcast itself, Football Uncensored podcast with Alan Hudson, Don Shanks. Yeah, so it was very, very good positive feedback all week. So I'm really pleased with that.
Good, and well done for all those plugs. I'm not a very good host, am I, John? Right.
Well, we're trying to help things while they're swanning out in Gran Canaria. You know what I mean? How the other half live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're holding the fort in the cold pissing rain of England.
Yeah, but Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid out there. You know what I mean? They'd done a little musical tribute to me, which was funny. They knocked out 3 20-minute segments, and part 2 was quite funny actually. But Alan had enough of it. Yeah, he went to hit that bell that Dom got hold of. Anyway, they can't shut me up because they're not here.
Exactly, I can't.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's England dominated this week, I think, John.
Yes, mate. Yeah.
You know, it's coming home, isn't it? Football's coming home. We will win the Euros. It's all kind of fallen into place. Not.
So you want an early shout? You want me to put out an early shout?
Go on, yeah.
About football coming home. I'm going to make this prediction now.
Go on.
Right? Unless there's a massive sea change, right? You're ready here. Listen, very, very quickly, for months, even years, I was like got a pal of mine, Adrian Durham, on TalkSport. For ages and ages and ages, I was promoting, pushing, singing the praises of Jack Grealish. Then he gave me the ump, so I've steamed into him, and I nicknamed him Grealish. Because he was always having a party on the bevy, whatever they'd done. The thing when he was abroad, laying in the gutter, and then he's bashing his Range Rover about during lockdown, etc. Right. So, long story short, sideways, Don and Alan have been doing the same. Then me, Don and Alan came together, courtesy of you. And the bottom line is now, with or without Jack in the side, which we're going to come to. I'm telling you now, I'll make the prediction now, unless there's a massive sea change in how we approach things, in how we do things tactically, I will predict now, Euros 2021, obviously delayed because of COVID, and hopefully everything picks up in the new year and we're back to normal. Scotland will come to Wembley and tan the English arse. I'm telling you now, because in my opinion, so you've lit the touch paper early. In my opinion, the way watching Scotland, I mean, I know they had a blip the other day. They got beat. They've been on the long run. They've had the thing, whatever it is, 10 games. I think I'm led to believe. So, maybe even more. Maybe I've got this thing in me nut about England because it's come up about Southgate losing as many games as Sven. But let's hope his private life's a bit tidier. But I think
it is.
Looking at Scotland, the way they've approached games, the way they've started games, and the way they maintain the pace and the tempo from start to finish. Yeah. Funny. I mean, people saying years ago, me, I was too intense. Training too intense during the week, too intense on a match day, too intense in the dressing room. Now all they talk about is fucking intensity. That's how it should be. When it's time to work, you work. You understand? And what's happened is, I think Steve Clarke will out-coach Southgate and he's the geezer. I haven't Googled it or nothing, I promise you. I mean, I don't even know who the geezer is.
Steve Holland, isn't it?
Well, I'm not being funny, all due respect. I mean, obviously I had 6 years being educated at one of the best academies in Europe at the time. Maybe even the world, Chelsea, with the coaches they had. And then through different circumstances and ingredients, maybe even lack of some ingredients, I slid down the pyramid, right? But I think I've even got a better playing record than him.
I looked him up. He played 18 games for Northwich Victoria. I think he was a young player, youth team player coming through at Derby. But he said he had an injury at 21 and had to quit the game.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's done well for himself, hasn't he? But maybe it's getting to the stage now where I'm looking at Southgate and him, and I'm thinking to myself, see, Scotland, that's how you should be that's how our players should be. And I'll predict now that if they're not careful, and I'm leaving in a proviso because if we're on blob, we can shred someone. But I think they could well be out. They'll be out coached by Steve Clarke if we're not careful.
Well, I think we might have, because I've got a bit of not an agenda, but a couple of talking points. But now we're on to the coaching thing for England. I might as well. This was going to be the end of the discussion, actually. But I looked at the coaching.
Mate, no, do it.
Well, it's just let's just go with it. So I did look at the coaching staff. So you got a fellow called Alan Russell, who's a striker coach. Scottish player. Most of his caps are at Hamilton Academicals. Then he went out to the US. I think he's got influenced by the NFL coaches as regards individual coaching per position. And then he's I think, what was it, superstar striker or something? Or superior striker. Is his brand.
Yep.
And he went to Chelsea. He was going to different clubs, helping different strikers. And went to Chelsea. And Steve Holland's got him in England. You got Chris Powell. You man.
Right, don't start about Chris Powell yet, right? Let's stick to the geezer who's obviously gone to the FA, give him a load of waffle and bollocks, and got himself a thing that everyone was doing in the 80s. And then I took it up a notch and took it on a step, right from centre of excellence level, always all the way up to first team level, which is what I say that's what I mean when I say stripping the game back. And you're talking, I was in touch with a coach in the week and he asked me my opinion on it. And I said, you are spot on. He was talking about player specific sessions.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a new gig. It's not.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah. I was going to ask you that.
It ain't a new gig, but he's obviously sold himself as a brand and he's got himself a nice little co there. You know what I mean?
It's not old. I mean, I think he's still only 39 now. So I think he got a job at 36.
Yeah.
So
Chris Powell, consummate professional, very good left back, very good pro. I think I might have come across him once. He done really well in terms of I think he got a cap or two.
He did, he got a couple of caps,
in the twilight of his career. Apart from Southgate, quite possibly the one with the best credentials. But someone's brought that up about, the people have got to realise that the dividing line is like a gnat's whisker between different aspects of the game or different standards of the game, and it's a gnat's whisker between success and failure. And you could find yourself on this trajectory where you go to the top of the game very quickly, and then in some cases, probably someone like myself, you can find yourself coming down very, very quickly with a bump. Someone's mentioning about his only claim to managerial fame, he's getting Middlesbrough relegated. But you can't. I'm a great believer in what he said, possibly because it suits my agenda. Arsene Wenger said, you never judge a manager until you know the circumstances under which he's managed. So I wouldn't hold that against him, what happened at Middlesbrough. The same way as I don't think it should be held against me, my second part of my tenure at Leyton Orient, because I was clearing up an absolute disaster zone. An absolute mess. But what I was going to say to you, Joe, very quickly is like the gap in terms of coaching elite, so-called in inverted commas, elite players and players of a lesser kudos status ilk. It's not a massive difference. And in terms of like all this player-specific coaching, really and truly, all you're doing is what I've always regarded as what Don said should be right. The best coach should be the manager, because he's your go-to guy, he's your focal point. And all these little sessions that are put on, he should know, would know, maybe knows, maybe doesn't know how to put them on himself. I think it brings you, if you do it, it brings you closer to the players. But
how far do you go though? How far do you go with a player-specific thing? Do you have a centre midfielder specific session or a winger session? Or fullback session, because fullback and centre half is a different position. Obviously, it's a different position.
Listen, it could be coaching of the mind. This is just my opinion. This is just how I would do things, right? You could do, like, with regards to player specifics, with regards to this striker coach, whatever his name is, I forgot it already. Alan Russell, right? With what he's doing, he's obviously going to put a session on. Could be crossing and finishing. Could be the one where you've got, like, you're denied space in the box, so you make it a tight area, and then, like, you feed balls in, and you're looking for a one-touch finish or a maximum of a two-touch finish, depending on the session. So you'll put Harry and someone else up against two centre-backs, or you'll put Vardy and Harry up against three centre-backs, etc. Crossing and finishing, you could have, you're looking at like the keys there with regards to, getting into the line of flight, making contacts, making sure you hit the target, etc., making the goalkeeper work, accuracy before power, etc., etc. Now, with regards to midfield players, like looking at the difference in the two games with Jack Grealish, I'd have a strong word with him about yesterday's performance. But I would do it maybe on a one-to-one basis and bring him in and just show him bits and pieces on.
What aspects of that then? What words would you why would you say that? Why would you give him strong words?
Yeah, everyone's been singing his virtues and praising him, and including me, including Alan and Don, including the media, including radio, TV pundits. What you're looking for in yourself, you're looking for perfection. What you're looking for in a player is also perfection. What you're looking for in your relationship with a player is sometimes, as a coach, you pull the player up, right? You raise his game, and then the flip side of that is he's got to challenge you intellectually and your coaching ability, whereby he's pulling you up. So I'm looking at all the good stuff that he did against the Republic of Ireland. I'm looking at some of the good stuff he did in Belgium, against Belgium. But then I'm looking at some of the stuff that he can improve on. Things like when you work towards getting an overload, right? So there's two ways of getting an overload. One is, which we fall flat on our face with, which is moving the ball quickly, moving it sharply, quick passing and movement. And the other way is dribbling. Right. Then when you get the overload, like he did against the Republic of Ireland, although looking at the number 13 with his Alice band for Ireland, I'm thinking of making a comeback, especially after what I saw in the other game yesterday. But having
Hendricks.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, spot on. Well done. Yeah. Because I had to try and make a note of his name. I looked at him. I thought he got the red card yesterday, but scatterbrain all over the gaff. You know what I mean? But looking at the England game, it's not just about achieving the overload. It's about utilising the overload and how you execute. So what he's done there, Jack, he's actually enticed him to maybe have a nibble in terms of coming towards the ball. And Sancho. So he's drawn the geezer, and as Sancho's come up on the outside, he's given it to him, and then dropped out again and left it to Sancho to do the bump and bend it in the far corner between the geezer's legs. But then I look at it from the other point of view, like listening to Roy Keane again, absolutely fantastic what he said. If you're the opposition manager or coach there, you'll be screaming at the 13. He's in the 18-yard box. He's probably level with a penalty spot. You've got to get within blocking distance. You can't give it one of them and let him fling and it goes through your legs or someone else's legs into the far corner. Nonsense. You know what I mean?
Sloppy. Yeah.
Yeah, but the point being, what Joe, I'm saying, what Jack's got. Joe Grealish, good signing. Yeah. He introduced me to Don and Alan. Anyway, what he's got to recognise better, Joe, right? Jack Grealish has got to recognise better is not get wrapped up in his right. And this is where I'll get at it big time with Lord Hudson, right? Because I would say, like I've always said, it's for the greater good, and this is where the foreigners have got the jump on us, right? What Jack's got to recognise is when he's done great work, right? Sometimes it's about having gone on a bit of a maze, he's got like so much courage and bravery in accepting the ball in tight situations, right? And then he'll do someone, and then he'll do someone else, and then he'll pass it, and it'll be a good. Like after doing it the first time, they'll try and crowd him out. They gang up on him in twos and threes, as we say in the game. They double up on him, right? That's when he's got to recognise and say, you know what? It's not about me now. It's about utilising. If the opposition have ganged up on me 2 or 3v1,
there's space somewhere else.
Spot on, there's an automatic overload, isn't there? So that's where he's got to go bump and share the ball on more quickly. A lot of the times last night, I thought he was too self-indulgent. And he thought, and this is the thing, like, if you look at the difference down through the ages, like your Mateus, your Xavi, your Iniestas, these type, they do what's right for the greater good, even though they're stars in their own right.
Yeah, that's an fascinating point. And I wonder whether, because it'd be interesting if you was Southgate after that game. Now, I guess you may have dealt with Grealish differently because you rated him prior to him playing the last couple of games. But he, obviously, Southgate hasn't fancied him for whatever reason. And he's made him really pull up trees to get his chance. So it'd be interesting to ask, how would you have dealt with him after the performance yesterday? Would you have bummed him up? You know, I know. Would you have just said what you said then to him? Because that might have knocked his confidence a little bit, might it not?
Well, no, not in private, wouldn't. But,
No.
I mean, what you've got to understand. What you've got to understand is I've got your best interest at heart. I want to, the same way you're challenging me now to take it to the next level, I want to try and take you to the next level. And it's like backwards and forwards, to and fro. No, I'd have praised him yesterday. I thought he was tremendous. I thought he was our only hope at times, our best hope, our greatest hope. Took the ball courageously in tight areas, did some good things with it. But now you've got them all slippery, like jumping on the bandwagon, even Southgate himself. When we're seeing what should happen, and then it's taken them weeks, months, even a year to come to the same conclusion, there's got to be a steward's inquiry if these people are at the top end of the game. You've got Harry afterwards saying, oh, yeah, he's so good to play with. Well, if he's such a leader and such a captain, break away from toeing the party line and don't come out with a crock of bullshit like you did after the game yesterday, where we played so well, we played really well, and we're getting there, and Jack's so good to play with. Well, you didn't play well, Harry. You didn't play well. The team, they didn't play. They played well in patches, and they played well after, like we was talking about last week. But we chopped it because Rabbit in for non-stop for an hour and a half, and I thought, you know what? Let's try and keep it snappy. So we left out all the boxing metaphors and analogies. Well, we waited until we were 2-0 down before we started playing. This is what I mean by starting for, because at the start of the game, I thought it was quite good because they tried to play. I'll tell you what. We was talking about the other week with regards to you asked about getting caught trying to play out at the back and the ball getting pinched and the inviting pressure. There was very early on in the Belgium game, we tried to do it before we actually conceded the nonsense goal, which I can come to. Right?
Can I ask you a question on that quickly?
Hold on. Pickford took the responsibility to say, no, there's no way I can go bump and pass it and we can play out through the 3/3. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take it on my own shoulders to get it out my feet, and I'm going to ping it long and diagonally. It was like a shallow angle, but it was long and diagonally to Harry Kane. And dropped it on his head or someone's chest. And I thought, good for you, son, right? Because there's a time and a place, and he's taken that responsibility.
Yeah. I was going to ask you on the Dyer pass when he passed it. I can't remember who it was to, actually. One of the centre forwards, and he's been caught. He got caught in.
He tried to punch it into.
Who was it? I can't remember now.
I think it was Winks. No.
Might have been Grealish. Actually.
No, it weren't Grealish.
But it was one of the seven. Well, it might have been Mount, Mason Mount, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Mount. Yeah.
No, he got criticised, Dyer, for that. But do you think that's? I mean, I've and you played centre half position. Yeah, I mean, he passed on the wrong side, and you've always got to go on if the defender, I guess, on one side, pass on the other. But is that sometimes a product of the centre midfielder's not showing for it, and the centre half thinking, "Fucking, what I want to do," and he's had to force it, which is through the midfield to a centre forward, to the centre forward, which ain't a great pass usually, unless you fire it into a big centre forward that can hold it up like Lukaku, who by the way I thought did well. Yeah. Is that sometimes centre midfielders? Should they be showing for it? Would you ever go at Dyer for that? Would you ever go at Henderson, or would you look at Henderson and
when you drill a team in shadow play, and then your starting position is from the frame before. So the frame before is we've actually been defending, right? And the shot goes in or the cross goes in, and as soon as the goalkeeper gathers it in his hands, bang, you're live, right? That's how you coach. And what's happened there is, with regards to Dyer getting it, the continuum of the goalkeeper getting his hands or getting it out of his feet, or the centre half getting the movement's got to be sharp. The movement's got to be that. So I used to watch Cartwright do sessions, what he used to call the in and outs. So if he couldn't play through the 3/3 and the centre back had the ball and it was going across the back, it would be like a midfield player, one coming short, one going long, and then he'd punch it in. And if you could get it on the half turn, like he was very good at it in Charlton's youth team, Bowyer, the lad who's the manager now, right? And he would get it on the half turn, and the centre half will punch it in and say turn, and then now you're facing the game. Or if you've got someone tight behind you and you can't get, and it's a case of lending it in and getting it back. And then he'd get out and clear the space for someone else to come in. So the point I'll make is, whatever the movement is, Joe, it's got to be sharp.
Yeah,
and it wasn't sharp. It was static. They were standing there. So then I'll come to the next thing, which is where I said to you about Dyer's never a centre-back as long as he's got a hole in his arse. So now I'm struggling to see where he's playing, because you said to me last week, Southgate fancies him and Mourinho fancies him. I said, well, good luck to him. Good luck to him. Because he's very vulnerable with a ball down the side of him, and he's very vulnerable when someone's running at him. Now he's showed that he can't make the right decisions on the ball, because I said he's not mobile enough to be a centre midfield player, and he's definitely not mobile enough to screen the centre backs, because you've got to be like a Kante. You've got to cover every blade of grass, and you've got to do it quickly. You've got to do it sharp. And then if the opposition are moving the ball quickly, you've then got to shuffle over quickly to get back in front of your centre-backs. He ain't got that in his locker. Now, as a centre-back, I'm saying to you, if it's me, I'll get it out of my feet. I have a look, and I say, the best side, this is what you say to a defender, you pass the ball right on the right side. You pass the ball on the best side. And the best side and the right side is the outside. Right. Yeah, not the inside, so what it is, you may be fading a ball past who you said Mount, and you may be just missing it out. So that's where I think my shape is better with regards to the formation I would want to play. It's more flexible, but at the same time, it's rigid enough for you to be able to coach it when players are coming in and out and in and out and in and out. And that's where I maintain that I'm right 100%. And I'll argue until Armageddon. We've got nobody with any pace apart from Vardy and maybe Rashford, who Lord Hudson don't like either there. We need someone with pace to threaten the back, which is actually get out ball, because the opposition were more or less squeezed up on the halfway line.
Yeah. There's no threat behind. Yeah.
And I see Harry Kane coming deeper and deeper and deeper. So what are you? Are you a world-class finisher, one of the best finishers in the world, or are you a number 10? Make your mind up. You know what I mean? There's going to be times in the game when he's going to have to do it and get his body in and set the play up, right? But a lot of the time he should be looking for the ball in there, or as it comes up back wide, he's got to turn, do a spin and bust the gut to get in, right? Into the box, ready for the cross coming in. And he's not in a position. He's got too much ground to make up.
Yeah. I wonder whether that was one of the reasons why they seemed stifled, Henderson and Rice. I mean, I can ask you in a second about whether or not playing 3 centre-halves and 2 holding midfielders is too defensive when you've got to win. But I guess the fact that we had these 3, I mean, Mount and Grealish are glorified centre midfielders, really. Harry Kane isn't the fastest. He's more of a hold-up merchant. So, like you say, the defenders are pushing them forward, squeezing the actual pitch. So there's actually very little space to play. But
it might be quick. Harry might be quick, but he just don't look quick.
Yeah,
you know Joe, I don't know. I don't train with him. I haven't watched him up close. But, you know...
He don't do too badly, to be fair.
Yeah, apparently once he gets going, he don't do too bad. But the bottom line is you've got to save yourself for all that, because you don't want to be having to set play up and then run 55 yards to get into their second 6-yard box for the cross to come in, which is what his game's all about. But in terms of being too static, what you said, this is why I say I think it should be 5 diamond 1. I agree. Our best formation is 3/5 at the back, because in no way, shape, or form are we good enough to play with 4 at the back. Right? So that sets a precedent for how you're going to set up. If you say we're going to build from this foundation, we are not good enough at this moment in time to set up 4 at the back. So Gareth Southgate is governed by the fact that, as a consequence of not being good enough to set up with a flat back 4, that sets the precedent going forward.
Yeah.
Which obviously is 3, but it will retreat into 5. I'll tell you what I don't like. The other look, while we're on the subject, the boy Mings. all the hand gestures when he's got the ball at his feet. Well, what you do when you're in that position, and he was very good at it, John Terry.
Yeah.
When you're in that position, if there's not a forward pass on or a killer pass on or a great pass on, what you do, you just go one touch to control, second pass, punch it. Full back, centre midfield player, even if you bounce it off him to get it back. You understand? What I don't like is when he gets the ball under his feet, he looks up for a pass. You see him, he's left-footed, so you've got a value-added premium. So he's a lucky boy anyway that he's a natural left-footer because he wouldn't get anywhere near any national side of mine, right? But he looks, and then he's going, you understand?
Yeah.
And where's the movement? As in diabolical body language, transmitting to the opposition, and C, openly like critical of your teammates, as in, where's the movement? Where's the movement? I can ping this ball, but where's the movement? And then he ends up chopping a ball in for the sake of it.
Is that a lack of confidence?
No.
In him?
No, it's a lack of coaching. It's a lack of coaching. And then if he don't get it, off. You understand? If he don't get it, he's in the greatest position on the planet. Any national side, the manager of any national side is in the greatest position on the planet. Gareth Southgate can just go, bum, bum, bum. Yeah, I've said that. You don't get it? Well, because this is one of my beliefs why we ain't won anything since 1966. There's not enough humility. You understand? And you've got them towing the party line and towing the FA line and towing the manager's line. That's great. That's fantastic. Now, all I want you to do is toe the line on the training field and replicate it in the game. Because I promise you, if you listen to me, we ain't going to go far wrong. We'll win a lot more than we lose, and we definitely won't lose 10 like the previous manager who was acting the goat, went after 4 jobs, had a bird, had a mistress, and had a mistress for the mistress, and then another mistress for the other 2 mistresses. You understand what I mean? And you look at the cacophony and nonsense there, and then now we've gone down the same road with supposedly a settled side and a settled backroom staff and a stable unit, a squad of players who he trusts. But the bottom line is when you've got the pick of the creme de la creme, supposedly, Joe, you come in, you say, bum, 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 this is how we're going to do this, and you're going to get it out your feet, move it, punch it on, move the ball quicker, And if he's done, and if he's giving it all this and giving it all that, right, have a look at what he's got the ump with, right? That can be coached, that can be corrected. That's down to people getting caught standing still. A centre forward should never get caught standing still. A midfield player should never get caught standing still.
We're murders for it. We're murders for that, John.
He might have a case, but if he ain't got a case, once it's been coached, you off him and you get another centre back in.
Yeah, because whilst I'm not a massive fan of Tyrone Mings, I do get where he's coming from with that because I've said it. I think I might say it last week. The English disease, people say hooliganism is the English disease of maybe drinking. Although Scotland could give us a run for our money on that one. It's cowardice in the international level for me, particularly when things are going wrong and the players seemingly, I mean, it happened. How many World Cups and big tournaments has it happened in? Players, certainly centre midfielders, don't want the ball. And I presume that's because they don't want to make a mistake. And so options become reduced. Centre halves end up knocking it long in the channels. We lose possession. And that's why our possession statistics are so poor in those big games. So I do think and I noticed it after we conceded the first goal, I thought actually we played all right. The second one went in and options seemed to dissipate and go. And it just became I know in the second half we played a bit better, but it was that turgid, the turgid element of England seems to be when players go missing and we end up not having, you think of Spain and France, they've always got 3 or 4 options. Germany, every time someone's on the ball, we
that's why
max.
Yeah. That's why I think my system would suit the players we got.
Yeah. So would you still go with those 2 centre midfielders, Rice and Henderson?
Not together, no. No, not together. It's one or the other.
Right.
And I honestly, the way I would set up with regards to this 3 at the back, like I said, 5 diamond ones. So it's like if you look at it on paper, it's like 2 diamonds. So the core, the backbone of the side is very, very well reinforced and protected.
Right.
And what you're talking about earlier on with regards to freezing and being frightened, etc., etc. This setup that I'm obsessed with. If you coach it right, you could go short, you could go long, you could get your rotations going. If the ball changes hands, you're in a gang with regards to retrieving it back. If you have to retreat and you get pushed back by good opposition, like I said, it's very well reinforced. So I don't know why it hasn't been tinkered with or it hasn't been tried. It's got so many things going for it.
Yeah.
And it's not down to.
And it's rotate. It can rotate, presumably. It's a bit like a.
Yeah, all the positions can rotate. All the positions can rotate. There's no need to panic or worry if you get caught. He was very good at coaching it. Terry Venables was sowing seeds in players' minds. Don't worry if you find yourself in a position on the football field when you've rotated as a team or an attack's broke down and you've covered for someone. Don't be fazed by it by the fact that you might be just for a couple of minutes you might be asked to just fill in there. And I just think like all round it's a fantastic formation. It evolves into 3-4-3, and like West Ham showed at Stamford Bridge last year, it's very easy to counter if you're a disciplined team. And I thought looking at it. Over both games, there were too many. Apart from Grealish, we were playing in that way and that
lines,
way.
Yeah.
Too many straight lines. Not fluid enough.
So
I'm looking at the thing here. Very quickly. So
that's good.
You had 3-4-3, which obviously you can retreat into 5-4-1 out of possession. That's England. Then you got Ireland, just to tweak 4-2-3-1. And then they're out of possession. They're obviously retreating into 4-5-1, right? And then I just thought to myself, for the first 10 minutes, Ireland looked like England and England looked like Ireland. I think up to about 8 minutes, 32 seconds. There was two or three fantastic crosses went in where the Irish team got in behind us. That was as a consequence of England not pressing together. So that tells me maybe they're not utilising the time best they can with regards to drilling them defensively. They had a free kick, Ireland, on 11 minutes, wasted it. I'm just looking at it. Egan went off injured after 30 minutes. The main thing to come out of it for me, two main things: England not moving the ball quickly enough. They moved the ball too slowly, and then no X factor, even with Jack in the side. But then we ran out 3-0 winners. But you're playing against, no disrespect, I earned the majority of my living in the lower divisions. No disrespect, Joe, right? You got like internationals who play in the European Champions League for top clubs in England for the top six. They're playing against players from the likes of Portsmouth who've had. So you think to yourself,
well, and that's, we used the boxing analogy last week. I don't know if it went out. I can't remember, but another boxing analogy, which is, I think, relevant in this instance, is levels. And levels are a big thing in boxing. And you get very rarely does someone from a lower level beat someone from a higher level. It's quite clear. There's a real hierarchy in skill sets. In international football, and there's a stat that the England team is worth more than any other team in the Euros, 1.4 billion. The England players are worth. The next one's France, with just over $1 billion, and then Germany's about 800 million. We're top level, theoretically, in inverted commas. We're top level, 1.4 billion, and yet we come unstuck against teams in international football that are significantly lower level than us. How can that be?
Well, I think it shows quite clearly that I'm right when it comes to my disagreements with Alan, when the three of us get back together, and I think episodes, it was either 5 and 6 or 6 and 7, we got right at it over the thing with regards to the difference between coaching and managing. And to me, it's quite clear, Joe. It's quite clear that you can't just rock up, throw together what's perceived to be the best 20-odd players in the country, and say, all the best lads, go out and play. The old Cluffy thing, wipe the ball, put it on the massage bench and say, there you go, chaps, I want you to treat this as your best friend. Treat it like it's your best friend. You can't rock up and say, just go and play, I'm going upstairs to the ballroom for a gin and tonic. It's got to be organised and structured. And I'm not saying Southgate and his staff haven't tried to do that, but listen, what I'm going to say, I was one of the very few that didn't get wrapped up in the euphoria of Russia, right? Because we beat like whatever it was, 3 pub teams and a team of thugs on penalties, right? And then I had the row with Alan over Croatia. I would say it wasn't nothing to do with Modric. And I said, yeah, it was to do with Modric when Croatia give us a slap. But quite clearly, the people on the touchline couldn't work out that we do this, this and this to counter the problems that Croatia are giving us with regards to getting an overload. And we do this, this and this, not only to counter them, but we give them a problem going the other way. I thought it was garbage, nonsense. I thought it was embarrassing. I mean, what's even more fucking embarrassing, you look at this thing now, we're third behind Denmark and Belgium. I mean, we've got, so all your 180, 101 point something billion, that goes right out the window. Because, I think it reinforces my argument. What I've said is about getting into the players and getting them, do you want to be on my side? I'm not going to beg you to be on my side. I've been through all that before in a previous life. You know what I mean? What I will say is, if you listen to me and you apply it 100%, right? Disregarding all the splash fights in a pool on the back of fucking unicorns to build team spirit and all that. Yeah, that's lovely. That's fine. But the real core element of it is what you do on the training field together. Then you build. Then you get some results. Then you pick up momentum. Then Then they go, whoa, hold on a minute. This geezer knows what he's talking about. This really, this is working. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
On the breakdown, more fluid. More movement, more passing and movement, better rotations, and above all else, what we didn't have against Belgium until we went 2-0 down, a bigger supply going into the penalty area, into the danger area.
I'll have a question on that then. Do you think you have to coach differently in international football as you do in club football, just because you have less time? So do you have to sort of reduce the messaging you send to players because it's just you're not with them as much? Is it a different way of doing it?
I suppose evidently, you look at it historically, I suppose there is. And there's a touch of unfounded arrogance about what Alan says with regards to people like Maguire and all that. I'll take me out off to him for the last couple of weeks. He said you shouldn't have to pay £85 million for a centre half and then expect to coach him. He should be able to solve his own problems. Football don't work like that. No. And that's got a lot, I think, like a massively arrogant assumption about it. Everybody needs help, and then what you need to do is you need to make sure the players know that you're there to help them. The bottom line is what you're saying, Joe. In times gone by, I think when we've been at our best, when we've done well, is when it's been the game plan has been built around good players who have bought into it, been humble enough to be coached. Think Euro 96 under Mr. Venables, who wasn't afraid to surround himself with knowledge. Right? Listen, what you've got to understand, right? In football, there's little power structures, there's little ring fencing, there's mini empire building, there's self-preservation, all goes on. You understand? And people are overly cautious and overly suspicious of one another. Terry Venables weren't like that. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a monkeys. He had on his staff. He had like Brian Robson as a link to the players, recently retired and a former magnificent England captain. Another group that underachieved slightly, but that was a different era and born of probably circumstances away from the football field. And then one assumes, going on reputation and what's been said, one of the best coaches in the country in Don Howe. But then when they all came together, I think what he'd done, Venables, he kept, this is the game plan, chaps. This is how we're going to defend. This is how we're going to try and attack. This is the system that I'm giving you to hang your ability on. And we went from there. And then it was just, ironically, the penalty by the present manager. But I think that's the last time there was a brief spell under Oddle. But that was the last time that I think it was run on the similar properties to when we achieved something in '66.
I mean, the only because I was, what was I, 12 or whatever when 96 happened. But you look back at them games. I actually watched it recently during lockdown. They had them on TV, and it's crazy to think how many captains, possibly even club captains, we had in that first 11. You think of Stuart Pearce, Paul Ince, Teddy Sheringham, Alan Shearer, Tony Adams, even Southgate. You know, a lot of big personalities that were, you mentioned last week, that if you identified something wasn't working well or needed to be changed, you'd do it during the game, regardless of what the manager said, and you'd argue the case at half time or full time with the manager. I wonder whether that, but I assume Venables possibly, gave the players some of that power, but they sort of, I'd imagine, managed it themselves. They had the personalities to manage it themselves. We don't seem to have anyone like that now. Even Kane, you mentioned, he's our captain, but I can't imagine him really doing that. Do you think that's a general sort of theme of modern day football, that those big characters aren't in it, or do you think it's just that we haven't got them?
Every player you mentioned now previously, with regards to the people won the Venables, the only way they become leaders, the only way they become characters, is first by deed. So if you're barking and hollering at me orders on the football field, right, alongside me, I'm a centre back, you're, say, Stuart Pearce, right? What happens? There's like an autonomy to it because of the way you play, and I could see that you know the game, understand the game, definitely know how to play the game. People like Tony Adams, Sol Campbell, people like this, right, who know how to play the game. If they're bossing me, if Sheringham's bossing me, who used to clean my boots, Teddy, right, at Millwall, if they're bossing me, it's done first by deed, right? That's what you've got to understand. You can only become a leader and convey things by word of mouth, by having been in the game, by first earning the respect of your teammates by deed. So that's in training and that's in games. And I look around and I don't see, to me, we haven't got enough. We haven't got enough. And there's, as a consequence, you can understand players not being receptive to something that might be barked at them. You know what I mean? To get things done like that, which is what you need. I mean, I've put down here, so we mentioned the thing about Dyer, and I've said, as a centre-back, you pass on the right side, which is the outside. I made suggestions there. If I was coaching him, you, even if it comes to like punching it to the fullback and then dropping out to get it back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've just changed the picture. But what we don't change the picture. That's why I'll keep going on about being obsessed with a formation, because you can constantly change the picture. You keep changing the picture. And if it breaks down, you revert to this, and it's virtually, if it's applied correctly, you're impregnable. You should be impregnable.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating to hear that, because it makes, just thinking back to when I used to watch Venables' England side. Do you remember there was a lot of negativity around how boring England was at the time, because we used to just knock it around the back four, just keep possession, knock it around the back four. That seemed to be quite prevalent in the way Venables played. I wonder if it was precisely because of that, because it was, well, the right ball ain't on, so we'll keep possession, the picture changes, players come in and out, and we take our time. But we're all comfortable enough to keep the ball. Did you remember that? Do you remember that being said of the Venables side?
There's a massive difference between being patient and building up through the 3/3 and recognising. It's a key word in football. It's a key word when you're playing. It's a key word when you're coaching. Recognise, right? So there's a massive difference between recognising when you can and can't do something and being patient and passing just for the sake of passing. And what we're doing too often, we're passing for the sake of passing because it's en vogue. I mean, I even made a note here. I understand.
Well, it's the stats, isn't it? With bloody Opta Index now. You know, bloody, what's his face? The Arsenal man who can't get a game for love nor money now, Ozil, made a career out of it. Good stats. Kept possession, but just passed it 5 yards.
Yeah. But if you look at that 96 side, this sums it up, because I can picture now Sheringham trying stuff crossfield. McManaman trying stuff crossfield. Ince trying stuff crossfield. When he came on, Redknapp trying stuff crossfield in behind. I understand passing to players who are marked, but why not occasionally use the space in behind? This is where I think one of the reasons we're one-dimensional, what I said earlier, I don't think we've got anyone with enough pace to threaten the back. If you look at the times we did try and get in behind, or we got in behind, particularly against Ireland, not very good opposition. I told you, like the standard of some of the players, it was as a consequence of a dribble rather than passing the movement. Think Sancho, think Grealish, think who's the Arsenal kid when he got on?
Saka.
Yeah. Left back. Then the other Arsenal kid when he got on at right back or right side of midfield. I mean, I'm looking at it. All right, the second goal, I don't think that was a free kick. In actual fact, if anything, he kicked Rice.
Yeah, but then I mean, Ashley Cole. I mean, I thought he very good pundit, Ashley Cole, in my opinion. But no, why would no one? Why would not everyone jump? You either all jump or you don't jump. I mean, it actually went in halfway up the. It went up halfway high, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought to myself, he's going to struggle to get it up and down.
But it didn't go in just under the bar.
No, but he did. Yeah. Maybe look at the goalkeeper starting position as well. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Coming back to it, I thought it was a bit of a hangover from winning in second, third gear against the Irish. And what I didn't like is, I've summed it up, Joe, by saying I think we're still a long way short of achieving a final, even with the players to come back. I can't be having Southgate, going on about 11 players making their debut. That's by the by. Did they deserve to make their debut? If they deserve to make their debut, they earn the right, then why do you have to mention it?
Why is it relevant, yeah?
Why is it relevant that you're like it's your job as a manager at any football club or at national level to bed in new players, and you've got to think of the short term, the medium term, and the long term. But here's a thing for you: why did he mention it when basically the side that finished against Belgium, I think I counted 7 players that played in Russia out of the 11. So what's all that, cobblers? And but for me as well, looking at it, another thing that I think is going to be vitally important. I think the back line's been changed too often, and it's the same with midfield.
What's happening with Cody? Is he injured or something?
Yeah, I think he might have either that or he's changed it back again. Who knows? You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, you see.
No.
But it's like I said earlier. The other notes concerned thing that you asked a question that lit the touch paper. It concerned Grealish. I put he was okay, but a few faults to be ironed out. I'd like to see him be less indulgent. There's a time and a place. So when you're coaching dribbling,
I would defend him though. Let me just say, John, I would defend him. The reason being is because he's got his chance. A bit like Alan being thrown in against West Germany in '74.
75.
75. The manager's gone. Right, we're playing against the world champions then. Let's see how we get on. And then he never played it for England again, which is criminal because he was man of the match in that game. But it's
no, how eerie this is. I sat there and watched it last night on YouTube.
Really? Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? But obviously I only looked. Yeah, it was on YouTube. That's what I watched it. But what I mean is, Grealish has got one chance. This possibly may be his only chance in his head. He's got to impress and he's got to perform. And maybe that might legislate for why he was a bit greedy and he did want to dribble all the time because he wanted to show off and prove how well he played, which is what he did. He proved what a good player he was.
You think?
Well, I think if Southgate said to him, "Well, you've been fantastic. You're a big part of my plans now. I'm going to not build the team around you, but you're there and thereabouts." And then you have the conversation that you said about, well, actually, sometimes maybe because players are coming around you, there's space elsewhere. You can ping it elsewhere. You can switch the play, and we can, as a team, be in a much better position because you've been less selfish. If he thinks he's going to be playing, maybe he would do that, be receptive to it. But when you're not sure whether you're going to play, you think, well, fucking hell, I've got to impress.
Yeah, I'll get that. But if you want my opinion,
of course,
in terms of where he's concerned, Southgate should be gone before Grealish. I mean, the world and his wife, from a podcast like this to the Premier League to punditry to Ponzi newspaper, the world and his wife have been calling for Grealish to be in the side, and I think it's to a degree Southgate and his staff have bowed to the pressure.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. I mean, if you're in that situation, once you get the multi-millionaire status, really, you don't give. I wouldn't give too much of a monkeys. I'd have even more self-belief than I've already got. So, it's about saying to the player, like Grealish, come in here, have a little look at this. And what I'd do is I'd pull the computer around and I'd say, look, see there, what we're looking for, And hopefully he'll answer me with, good football IQ. Well, we're looking for overloads, boss, especially in these areas. I go, right, well, you've already created the overload because you've gone on a Maisie twice. You've shredded them twice. You've ended up with a curler that was going in the top corner, just not quite. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
On the left-hand side of the box, right? So all of a sudden now they're ganging up on you. Well, that's the time to recognise that if 3 have ganged up on you, that only leaves them like 7 other outfield players. So we somewhere we've got 9v7. You understand? So you share the ball. Get them to share the ball. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. I've made the thing about 11 players making debuts, and I've put down what does that mean?
Is the Southgate under pressure now, by the way?
Yeah, I look. Sorry, Joe. Very quickly, I've written them down for you. Right.
Go on.
I'm still looking at it, and it still looks like the Gareth Southgate tried and trusted. Right. Pickford, Walker, Trippier, Dyer, Winks, Henderson, Kane. Well, I'm pretty sure they was all. Maybe Winks was injured, but they was all sniffing round and part of the side in Russia.
Are we to say that the Walker thing playing right centre half is dead in the water? Yeah, shocker last night, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he proved it. He proved what Roy Keane said about him last week in the Manchester City Liverpool game. You know, he's 30 years of age. He's built like a cruiserweight. He's got blistering pace. You know, he's just like solid muscle. And the problem is that the main muscle that should be working at computer, you know, in milliseconds seems to be the one that's functioning the least, because like Roy Keane said, he keeps making the same mistakes at the age of 30. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to defend him a little bit because what it is, you're happy to be part of it in the national level without a shadow of a doubt. It's almost like they're grateful. So if the governor says, like, you're playing right back, you play right back. If he says you're playing right wing back, you play there. If he says, right, we're in Russia and I need your pace because I'm not sure about whoever, I'm not sure about Stones, I'm not sure about Maguire, so I'm going to play you as a third centre back, then he's going to get on with it and do it.
Of course, yeah.
In defence of him, Joe, slightly, it confuses your game a little bit. It is no like real run of it there. Truth be told, I think he might be a reserve. I'd have him maybe as a reserve third centre back. Yeah, if I was playing 3 centre backs, with regards to right wing back, I think the Arsenal kid who come on, he's going to be in front of him, and then before that you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's, I think he's light years ahead of anyone. Do you know what I mean? So he's never going to get a game there again.
No.
I don't think he'll get a game there again.
So we've got Scotland, Croatia, and Czech Republic in the group. Do we get out of that in the Euros?
Maybe not.
It's our group.
It's harder than people think. Maybe not. Let me tell you something. If they're on blob, right? If they're buzzing Croatia, they'll do to us what they've done to us before, right? So you've got to have the staff, and you've got to have humble enough players to take on board what they're being told, execute it to the best of their ability. We might have a chance. What I weren't happy with in Russia was, like Alan said over about Modric and all that, but that could have been counteracted like that. If someone had sometimes it's like you're talking about boxing. I remember doing a martial arts class, and I remember someone they always crossed over to us. We never crossed over to them, but they crossed over to us. So then they come in to the thing, and in the place of learning, and then you get someone who came from some sort of kung fu to come and do judo and jiu-jitsu, and he said to the instructor, that won't work. I don't think that'll work. So he called him out, and he went crash, smash, bash, wallop, which you shouldn't do really, because it's a form of bullying. And then he turned around and he said, what you do, son, you make it work. So sometimes it's about imposing your will, right? Coupled with higher football IQ from the coaching staff and the players.
Yeah.
So Croatia, it's like that. I've already covered Scotland. I'm telling you now, Steve Clarke is more than capable of out-coaching Gareth Southgate and he's number 2. More than capable. And if Scotland come down and approach the game the way they've approached every game that I've seen them in, right, with regards to starting up there at a very, very high tempo, so on the scale of 0 to 10, England against the Republic of Ireland was maybe a 4 for the first 10 minutes. And the Irish got in a couple of cracking crosses. Then it went to a 6, and we achieved a 7 and beat them comfortably because they're playing against supposedly inferior players in lower league football, right? Then you look at the Belgian one. We started at maybe an 8 and we ended up at 5, right? Scotland, every time I've seen them win, lose or draw, and for the majority of the time it's been win, they've started at a 10 and kept it there. So if England don't turn up at Wembley, right, against the Scots, as in we're going to start at that level, we're well prepared, we're well drilled, Scotland will turn us over. We'll be third in the group, right? You heard it here first, you saw it here first, you read it here first.
Yeah. No, I think that's a
Not
big statement.
Not an easy group, Joe.
No, and the Czechs are no mugs. Never have been. Never will be.
No, and they'll put their bodies on the line.
Exactly. Right. Just to finish, I've always I'm in this enviable position. I can ask you any question I want, which is amazing. And you watch TV and you think they never ask questions I'd want the answers to. So having been a kid, obviously never playing football as a kid, wanted to be a pro when I was a kid, and obviously never happened. You were a pro, which to me is amazing. So just a few questions I want to ask you, really. What did you have when you was in the change room before the game? Did you have a set routine? A lot of players have set routines. Did you used to do the same thing before every game? What was it?
Well, it's very kind of you to ask, and it's very nice of you to ask it in a nice way, because I turned on Johnny Vaughan over this type of thing when I went on his show on TalkSport. I don't know whether he'd been on the White Espresso or not. I don't know, but he tried to mug me off. He tried to mug me off and ridicule me, like with regards to like head banging music, and I'd be going up and head butting the wall and I was very, very professional. I used to rise. I went consummate professional, and then thought I'd arrived after getting in the first team at Chelsea. Went on the wrong track, and then like you're on the slippery slope. Then it's about trying to recover, and stay in the game. So I just used to rise and eat well, have a little walk. And then what I used to enjoy doing is getting to the ground early.
Okay.
And something I never got credit for. I think one journalist called me a pitiable ogre. I used to get to the ground and go and see all the backroom staff. I used to go and say hello to all the secretaries, the medical staff, the doctors, shake hands, ask them how their day was going so far. I used to go upstairs, not make myself busy with the directors, give them a wide berth. Chairman was all right, especially at Leyton Orient. At every club I was at, really, the chairman were quite down to earth. I used to talk to all the tea ladies, all the laundry, all the women that used to lay out the snacks for the hospitality. And then I used to get in the dressing room, and most of the time I was in the dressing room before the manager. And then what I'd do is I'd get me everything sorted out with regards to like my toilet bag and my suit. I had a fantastic collection of suits. Made sure they was all hung up properly, get changed. I used to love going out, having a good warm up. I remember saying that was said to me by Keith Peacock at Gillingham. He said, "I like the way you warm up, Sits," and all that. So he said, always look, he said, and I don't think you're properly warmed up until you've got a few beads of sweat dribbling down. So I said, I want to get so that you're into the pace of the game straight away.
Dab on, yeah.
Yeah. And then when I was captain, you have to think about entertaining any scouts, beg your pardon, not scouts, mascots. And then going around and introduce them to the players so they could maybe shake hands and get an autograph from their favourite player. And then it was down to business. Yeah, then it was down to business.
Did you, before a game, even in the week leading up to a game, I know you often had midweek games probably, but let's say the last game's finished and you're looking forward to the next one. Did you, it sounds silly, but I hope it isn't a silly question, I don't mean it like this, but did you dream about the game? Did you think, right, we're playing Notts Forest on Saturday, fucking they've got X up front, he's going to do this. Like, did you used to visualise the game and what you try and achieve in the game, sort of that bit before, or did you just kind of like wing it and get there and worry about it when it started?
Well, at Chelsea, I winged it. There's no two ways about it. We weren't prepared before a game. After Eddie McCready left, I wasn't in the first team yet. Ken Chiletto was my ex-youth team manager, so I don't know what went on behind closed doors there. But I never really dwelled too much on the opposition. I just used to go out there and try and deal with them. Mm. As an 18, 19-year-old centre-back, most of the games I dealt with them quite well. But it's something, especially now where it seems to be en vogue with regards to like R&R with regards to managing, in inverted commas, managing young players, taking them out the first team, out the firing line, even experienced players, mental health, da-da-da. Chelsea supporters didn't give a fuck about me. I mean, the damage had already been done. Basically, I was a good young defender who was thrown in at the deep end of a team that was already really relegated. So I suppose you could say the flip side of that coin is, well, the pressure's off. I like to think over a few games I acquitted myself really well. I had 2 or 3 nightmares, and that sealed my fate, coupled with my off-field conduct, right? But with regards to opposition, even down to when I ended up at Leyton Orient, I was playing against England centre forwards like Steve Bolt. And at Chelsea it was the likes of Kenny Dalglish. I acquitted myself all right. Actually, hold on, I'll have a look in my pocket. They might still be in here.
Exactly, struck it out.
Listen, Ray Wilkins always said, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I didn't bother about anyone. And then you, like at some clubs, in particular one where we got promoted at Leyton Orient, Brian Eastick done all the work behind the scenes. Frank Clark just oversee it. We were prepared magnificently with regards to the opposition.
Another question I want to ask: when obviously I know you come through the youth teams, and you had the pathway ahead of you to be a pro, so you were playing in front of people leading up to that. But I presume, well, I don't know, but you tell me. But when you actually played at Stamford Bridge, and there was however many people, 25, 30,000 people watching, or whatever it was back then.
Well, I came on to Coventry at half time, and I think it was 38. And then the next home game was home to Liverpool, and that was 44. They were locking them out.
Did you think, I'm the bollocks, I'm gonna show them how good I am, or did you fucking shit yourself? Because obviously, for someone like me, just even walking out, waving at them, I'd be terrified. Let alone fucking receive the ball and start trying to be a player in front of them, knowing that you make a mistake and and you can hear people coating you off in the terraces. I mean, how did you deal with that, and what was that like to deal with? Because that's something that I don't really hear about in the game. I don't really hear people talking about how they cope with that side of it. Because
the first part of it, Joe, you're nervous, a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
You get the butterflies, but it's a good nervous. You've got the butterflies in your stomach. Even me, someone regarded as he lacks a yard of pace. The world and his wife. You know what I mean? How'd you get through over 400 league games? You know what I mean? Majority of which, the vast majority of which, I got the upper hand on my opposite number. Even with that in mind, you're playing in front of 44,000 at the Bridge. It definitely makes you run a yard faster. And then with regards to the playing side of it, your concentration is absolutely imperative. That's the key. So really and truly, I think apart from one game, now there's 2 games at the Bridge. One, John Richards got his body into me and rolled me, and he scored. And then another one where every player in a blue shirt was diabolical. That was QPR at home. We got beat 3-1. And you could hear the moans and the groans and the thing. And your confidence is like he said, he summed it up very, very well once, Terry Venables, when I think he was coaching a player or some players. And he said, you've got to do the opposite of what's expected. He said, when you're having a bad time, when your confidence is low, when the crowd's moaning and groaning, when they're giving you abuse, which at that time, in the 70s, the late 70s, they weren't backwards in coming forwards with the abuse. Terry Venables used to say the majority of players will want the ball as far away from them as possible. He said, you've got to do the opposite of what's expected. You've got to want the ball. You've got to keep wanting the ball. You've got to take responsibility for the ball. So, basically you concentrate if you can on trying to do that.
It's hard enough playing football as it is, let alone that atmosphere. I mean, that always blows my mind that players can perform at that level. And do the fans do they just get zoned out after a while, or to do you always know they're there, and you're always aware of when every time you get the ball, you think, fucking make sure this is a good touch because I don't want them cutting me off. Oh, I shouldn't say that. That should be bleeped.
Good luck. Yeah. No, both.
Right.
You know they're there, but you. This is what I'm saying. Your concentration, your intensity, and what it is, you feed off of each other. I like to think you feed off of each other. I mean, unfortunately, I slid down the pole, and the only crowd that I could feed off of, there was a little bit of Gillingham, but the blue-eyed boy at Gillingham was Brucey. And then Leighton Orient not so much. You actually had to try and get the crowd going, which one of our guests who we hope to get on very, very soon when the gang's back together, Kevin Campbell, he came in, he ignited us in the promotion season.
Yeah.
But the only crowd I really fed off was Millwall. And at the same time as concentrating and phasing them out, when you do something good, you feed off of what they give you.
Mm.
And they were unbelievable. They were unbelievable. They were unbelievable to me. Yeah.
It must be an amazing feeling to have your name, sort of sung, and must have made you.
I was lucky,
so
Joe.
big.
I got off to a good start. I mean, I was lucky in that respect. So I had great service from Nicky Chatterton. My own debut, we beat Oxford, the one that went through all the divisions and won the Milk Cup. And I got across their captain, Mal Shotton, and like head, neck and shoulders crashed top corner. It went in like a volley.
Wow.
Because he put the pace on the ball from the delivery, Nicky Chats. So when you're coaching, that's something you coach. You know what I mean? If someone's as a slash at it, you just say, whoa, you ain't got to generate any power. The pace and the power is on the delivery. All you've got to do is direct it. So what I've done is, because I was quite good in the air, quite good header of the ball, I generated a bit more. It was like someone volleyed it. It went in the top corner, and I think put us 2-0 up. And then I had 3 50-50s, and the gaff erupted. I won all 3 50-50s in the centre circle. The gaff erupted like we won the European Cup.
How did that feel? How did you feel when you done that?
It felt amazing after some of the goings on at Chelsea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I rolled the ball short to the fifth beetle because I needed. Oh no, it was him that gave me the ambulance. He gave me the blue light ball in the first place.
Right.
I think I rolled it short to Nicky Chatterton. I said I need a breather. You know what I mean? But the gaff erupted like we won the European Cup.
Superb.
That was Millwall.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Oh, so I put it in my book, Joe. I put it in my book. And I'll stand by it to this day. If you can't play for Millwall supporters, you shouldn't be playing football.
Wow. No, that's sends shivers down my spine. I never experienced anything like that. It must be incredible. One last question. Favorite pair of football boots? Was you a Moulding or studs man? And what boots? What boots did you wear? What ones did you like?
As a defender, you always wore studs, and to the extent where the only time you wore moulded, the ground had to be like concrete. You know what I mean? Yeah. So even if there was like the merest hint of give in the turf, you wore studs,
right? Okay.
In case things got naughty.
I know you got sponsored. Was you Adidas, Puma King? What did you wear?
I only had it once. That was at Chelsea. The boot man come round with a bit of Nelsons, a few Nelsons, and he was giving out to you just got in the first team there, and they go, and then that went on a night out.
What boots did you wear then?
Adidas, majority of the time Adidas. But I had a phase where I thought I had a little pose in the Pumas. Do you know what I mean? I had my mullet and me curly dark hair from my ancestors. And he started calling me at Gillingham, Paul, the assistant manager. He started calling me Passarella. Look at you, Passarella.
Ollie. All right, nice one, John. Well, that was great. I think we can.
It's only orange. That's only orange, by the way.
Yeah. I've got the same, funnily enough. Orange.
Yeah, it's not vodka and orange. It's only.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's leave it there, and let's do the same again next week and on.
Yeah.
And hope everyone enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed that one. I thought it was...
If we squeeze, Joe, what I was going to say was if like see what Lord Hudson and Sir Donald do.
Yeah.
While they're over there like playing fucking Miami Vice with everyone. You know, like what's his name? Tubbs and Sonny Crockett.
Starsky.
while they're over there swanning around, what we do, if we can squeeze one in, maybe do something with the weekend fixtures coming up, because it's back to business, isn't it? Back to the Premier League.
Yeah, back to the yeah. Okay.
And if I was having one of Don's charity bets this week, I'd go for some aways. I think there's some nice looking aways.
All right, let's watch this space then, everyone. We'll try and squeeze another one in. Don't forget, give us a follow. Football Uncensored Podcast on Twitter. The Real Sits on Twitter. John is your handle. If anyone's interested in me, Wave Mobilities, you can follow me on that handle. But I've also got a personal one, Joe W. Mealing, if you're interested. But obviously, John's the star.
Well, we're just trying to, Joe. We've got to keep trying to get this going. We want it to gather momentum.
Yeah.
I know. Listen, I know it's a bit of a liberty, and you think to yourself, now where's he coming from and all, but I'll still insist that you've got opinion and you've got informed opinion. And I like to think that me, Don and Alan, we give informed opinion.
100%.
I think it's comparable with anything that might be on the TV. And even though we played in a different era, it's still the same game. If anything, you look at it now and you say to yourself, how much more can you do for players? How much better can it be?
Yeah. Well, I asked some questions at the end there because I want to ask them, and I'm in an enviable position to do that. But it'd be great to get questions like that people want to ask John and others, and Don and Alan, when the three of them together, or we can send it on to them guys when they're out in Spain. If you've got any questions you want these guys to answer, just send them through. Just DM my Twitter handle or John's Twitter handle, and we'll put the questions out there, because all questions are good, aren't they, John?
Yeah, that's got to be the next stage, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's got to be what we're trying. It's a work in progress. We're trying to get the podcast going. We're trying to pick up a bit of momentum. We're trying to build our following. We're trying to build our subscribers. So please view, like, share, subscribe.
Press the subscribe button. We're doing well. We're just getting over 100 now, so that's a good start.
Well, the next level is to get interactive. So that's what we're striving to do. And then when everyone's back together, it's a case, like you say, watch this space with regards to guests, and then people live in the room with us. God forbid this thing's all gone. This lockdown malarkey's gone, and then we can get down to it and do some really in-depth stuff.
Definitely. All right. Cheers, guys. We'll see you soon. All the best.
Cheers, Joe.
Oh.
Ciao, mate.
Cheers.